Welcome to another episode of the Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room. I'm Rock. This is Phil Pasquale. Yeah, can we use last names?
I guess.
Why not?
You
It's
did
on
it.
social media.
Yeah.
And
It sounds very sedated.
Do I really?
Yeah.
And this is Mark Mullins Jr., potential D1 pitcher we just found out, which we got to see
He
some
told me
video.
the story. Listen,
Yeah.
I got the full Al Bundy story at the bar.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Was he drunk?
He's a little tipsy.
I mean, I was all-county tight end 1 year in high school, and I'm just saying, it's amazing. It's amazing what you just don't.
I mean, he
know.
basically told me he gave up on it because he got hurt. So then it makes me, how close were you to actually being D1?
D1. I was scouted D1.
Well, you were scouted. I mean, so what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say. So what?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Well, I mean, you're telling everybody.
It came up casually in conversation.
Did it though?
Did it though?
I think you
Kinda
shoehorned it in.
That's not something you hang your hat on.
I mean, listen, if you're scouted D1, that's a pretty
No,
big
it is
thing.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I was never scouted D1 for any sport.
Yeah, no, I was scouted D3.
Were you really?
Yeah,
In what sport?
for football.
Okay. You were a quarterback, or what were you?
No, I was not tall enough to be a quarterback.
Well, no, I mean, because you played quarterback.
No, I played linebacker.
Okay, that I can see. Middle linebacker.
Well, we didn't have a. We ran like a hybrid of the bear. So I was a Sam Mike.
So I got a
Sam linebacker.
I mean, nobody cares about this, but so I was
won a state championship. You ever win a state championship?
Have I?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, so okay.
Our team did not either. Our team was pretty bad until my third year in. And I did make all-county tight end, but only because we were the only school in the district that actually threw the ball. Like, this is back in the 80s, 90s. They were running attacks, but not us.
Yeah.
So our coach was kind of like the precursor of the run and shoot.
Ahead of his time.
Yeah, ahead of his time. So I got 20 receptions, and that was unheralded. Yeah, it was a lot.
Well, how many games you guys play? 10?
10 games.
That's not bad.
20
catches a game?
receptions and
10
voted
games,
all county tight end. That must have been an off the field accolade.
Yeah, another thing too. This is actually this is my favorite story.
Oh boy.
I actually caught a pass, and our coach would automatically, if you caught a pass, you turned and lowered your shoulder. You got ready. If you did not lower your shoulder, you freaking ran laps. Like, he was a tyrant. He really was. Actually, was fired the next year for being inappropriate. But
What do you mean inappropriate how?
it's just, it's back in the 80s. We don't talk about that kind of stuff.
So Sandusky was a pain in the ass to play for.
It was Sandusky-esque. So anyway, I caught the pass. I lowered my shoulder.
We're talking about football now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Caught the pass, turned, and I hit this guy that had been recruited and was actually going to play D1.
Yeah.
And by luck of the draw, just freak of nature, I hit him hard enough to where his shoulder was damaged.
Oh, nice.
And he laid on the floor, and like an idiot, I didn't do this on purpose. I walked over him.
Oh, no, that's perfect.
So I got all kind of street cred, and they were like, "Oh, look at that!" And I was like, I didn't know what I had done. Legitimately, was just afraid the guy was going to kill me. So it was. Anyway,
That is pretty funny.
So Mark, talk about this episode. What are we gonna be doing here?
So I think in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight some movers and some shakers in the ADP world. People that are going both ways on the draft board, up and down.
Average draft position
Average
for the
draft.
layman.
There you go.
Yeah, and we definitely will be hearing this sound a lot this year. It's the hype train. There's going to be some hype train coming for sure.
I like it. That's a new one for this week. The hype train.
Yeah. There's a couple.
Surprised you
sounds.
didn't play the intro to the show.
I'm trying my best to get better at this, so you got to cut me some slack. So
I will admit the fading in and out has gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
Kudos.
So you're going to be talking about, and Mark, set us up. how many drafts? This is important for you guys to know.
Sickening.
How many drafts have you taken part of, and how many mock drafts do you think you have already taken part of during the off season?
The mock drafts really only on this show, because when you do it, when you do it online, they're kind of boring.
Yeah.
You'd rather have a little bit of skin in the game. So
Always.
I think I'm up to I'm at 98.
Yeah, 98. So while most people are playing with their kids, running around the pool.
Oh no, I make time for that too. I'm usually drafting. I mean, I'm drafting with some. I'm drafting late at night.
Okay, so he's drafted. so Mark has learned a lot about who people are hot on, who people are not hot on, and we're going to talk a lot about those players. So, how many do you have to highlight?
I figure we'll talk maybe 10, 11 players a little bit. This is just kind of.
So he only gave us like 5.
He gave us 5.
So he's like saving.
This is a Mark vehicle today.
Yeah. So we apologize for Hey, make a sandwich. You guys are going to be listening.
I apologize. This is going to be our longest episode ever, guys. We're going to get into this really, really deep. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so talk about your first.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, he's kidding, but not. Talk about your first big surprise riser or faller.
All right. Now, keep in mind, this is to keep all of our listeners just, finger on the pulse of what's going on. Keep in mind, a lot of this is based off of one site that I use. You've heard me reference RT Sports many times.
Too many.
They have some great toolkits on there, and they're really good at, they have their ADP that's updated every.
He's already thinking you're going too long.
I know. He's over here tapping his foot. I can hear him. Every month or so the ADP is updated. So I want to share some guys that I've noticed prior to the ADP ranks shifting a little bit. What I've noticed in some of these drafts where people are starting to move a little bit.
Okay. So who do you got first?
All right. So let's start towards the top of the draft, right? So we've mentioned that usually these drafts are very running back heavy. So one running back that was going very early and often was Josh Jacobs before the offseason acquisition of Kenyon Drake.
Right.
People have seemed to chill a little bit on Josh Jacobs, right? You'd see him at the back half of round 1. Some people would reach the middle of round 1 for him. He'd go early second. Jacobs has dropped a little bit. Now, he's still going early in that early running back cluster, but it's more so at the back end of 2, the beginning of 3. And that's because of the question mark of Drake, right? Why do you bring a dude like Drake in that has history of catching the ball and being a third down back when he wasn't counted on to be the 3 down back totally in Arizona? Why do you bring a guy in like that and pay him all that money and then still have Josh Jacobs a 3 down back? So I think it's kind of scared some people off of Jacobs.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Jacobs last year, he had 33 receptions, 238 yards. So receiving was a fairly big part of his game. Mm-hmm. And my expectation is at the very least that's going to be much lower because of Kenyon.
You would have to assume so, right?
Because Kenyon's probably a better receiver out of the backfield, maybe?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think without question he is.
Yeah. Drake's a little bit smaller, right? Jacobs is kind of a bigger guy, runs a little bit more upright, right?
No, I think Jacobs
can see.
I think he's a heavier guy. I don't know if he's taller, but I just think my thing with him has always been I think Drake, for whatever his cons are in his game, he's definitely a more explosive runner than Jacobs. Yeah, and I think that's why they brought him in.
Yeah,
Jacobs is 5'10", 220. And Kenyon Drake is
well, that's a compact dude right
6'1",
there.
212 actually.
Bigger,
yeah. So he's a taller
guy, but not as stocky.
I mean, it speaks to his game too. He just I always looked at Jacobs as kind of like a plotting running back.
Yeah,
and I think old school running back. Like Jordan Howard a little bit faster though.
That's a good comparison. That's how I saw him.
There's reason to be scared off of Jacobs. The reason you like Jacobs is he had 12 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
All in the rushing, no receiving touchdowns. But his average yards per carry went from 4.9 yards the year before to 3.9, which is pretty pedestrian.
Yeah.
And the Raiders, our team like the Steelers, that just keep cutting their linemen.
Yeah.
So they had already a bad line, offensive line, and now they're kind of getting even worse.
Yeah.
So,
And the other thing is, I'm not sold on Kenyon Drake just being the third down specialist either. I think he's going to mix it in. I
he'll
think
mix
he's going to
in for
get
sure.
every, if not every other series, maybe every third series, they'll bring him in on design plays for Drake.
yeah.
When all else fails, you follow the money.
Well, we've talked about this before too. They're seeing something in practice that we haven't yet seen on Sunday with Kenyon Drake, because he got paid like a number one back. $11 million is the number one back in the NFL.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen that production live, but they feel like he's got the skills for sure.
It almost, to me, it seems like they're trying to set up that Cleveland dynamic.
Yeah.
The Chubb Hunt dynamic with Jacobs and
Chubb Hunt, huh?
Drake. Chubb
Hunt.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
I think with Drake, though, I think we've seen flashes.
Yeah.
He's not very consistent. But I think, like I said, I think there's an explosive thing there, and maybe Gruden and Mayock think that they can make him more. If you have Jacobs in the building, you drafted him early, he's been there, and you go out and bring a guy in for $11 million per, that is all I need to know.
Yeah.
I was already down on Jacobs, but 33 receptions last year. It's not a bunch. It's like averaging around 2 per game, right?
Yeah.
I don't see how Drake doesn't eat into that a little bit.
Yeah,
He's got
Drake
to.
is faster, 4.4 compared to 4.6. So you're right. A running back in the NFL, 4.6 is
4.6
pretty
is
plodding.
slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty plodding.
And the Raiders, to me, they seem like a team that's getting ready to blow everything up and start over.
Yeah.
Who's to say they're not putting Jacobs on display while he's still young to maybe try and shop
I
him
wouldn't
to
be surprised.
to a team?
Yeah.
I still think he gets his goal line touches. 'Cause that's where
For
I
sure.
think that's the kind of runner he is. He's a short area. Like when he breaks a run, it's a 10, 12-yard run. I can remember, I could count on my hand how many times I've seen him break one for 15 plus. I could be wrong. We could look it up, but it's just not what he's known for. Now,
Right.
Drake, on the other hand, is known inconsistent, but
Yeah, if he
But
breaks.
he does
you
break
remembered
that big
him
run.
Yeah.
having those big breaking runs.
Okay. So, that makes sense as why people might be cooling on Josh Jacobs. What about your next play?
Do we agree? Right? So we should say what we think.
Yeah, I agree with it. I'm like you. I was never high on Jacobs anyway. I was never reaching to try and get him saying, "Oh, this is Jacobs' year. Watch this pick."
I know Rocky's a little more optimistic about him this year, right?
Yeah. So my whole thought is Jacobs is probably somebody that because people are cooling on him, you might get real cheap.
Yeah.
You may.
He might be worth a flyer because, again, Kenyon Drake hasn't proved that he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
And hasn't proved that he is a difference. So it could be that they start with both and then they end up going back to Josh Jacobs.
Well, I'm going to say if you can get Jacobs in the back end of round 3, round 4, then
Yes.
you're getting your value out of
Yeah.
Jacobs at that point.
Yeah.
That's what I will say.
I agree.
Yep. Okay. So
All right,
who's next?
Let's keep it in the backfield. Let's talk
Wow.
about.
I say that a lot.
Let's talk about. What do you got for me there?
Scratching because you were being
He doesn't know what that is.
No, I didn't.
Can you disconnect your phone?
Yeah, why?
From,
You
so I
wanna
can
connect
connect
your-
Because
mine, yeah.
Yeah.
this is unfair, man. I'm gonna boycott the show until I get my own soundboard.
You need to be here for a year before you get access to the board, my friend.
Yeah, otherwise
You guys haven't even been here for a year.
I know, but we make the rules.
in spirit, we've been here for a year. So, all right, so it's
All right, so let's keep it in the backfield. James Robinson. James Robinson has, for good reason, also been sliding down the board. James Robinson, prior to the NFL draft, was being taken back into round 1, all over round 2. You hardly saw him going round 3. Well, I'm just telling you now, even in the big leagues, even in the leagues like 250 buy-in and up, Robinson is around in round 5 and sometimes later. And the reason being the NFL draft, Jacksonville brought in Travis Etienne, young, unproven running back that, obviously wasn't at the top end of the first round of the NFL draft for a reason. But will he come in and cut into J-Rob's time? I don't know. The argument that I get, and I took him actually in the 5th round the other night in a draft, and I took him above – I could have taken Josh Allen as my quarterback. I decided to pass on quarterback, go a little bit later, get J Rob as a backup, thinking that I do believe he's still going to be the starter there for the foreseeable future. But the big beef that everybody has with J Rob is that he was an undrafted free agent rookie running back last year, right?
Yeah.
So what did you find lightning in a bottle with him, or did you discover a diamond?
Yeah.
And that's going to be the knock on him, especially going up against a first-round pick like Travis Etienne. Now, everything that I'm reading is stating that they're trying to get Etienne in a Laviska Shenault type of role, and that is a wide receiver close to the line of scrimmage where they can get the ball in his hands because he's a dynamic playmaker.
Yeah, but I don't buy it, and here's why.
So you think Etienne's going to get some carries out of the backfield?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Here's why. James Robinson was somebody else's pick. Urban has no loyalty to him.
Mm-hmm.
He is another back. He's 5'9", 216, so he's a little bit on the smaller side. Runs a 4.64.
But it doesn't seem like 4.6. He's so explosive, and he broke off so many big plays last year.
I get what sometimes it could be
100%.
tricky to game speed. Some guys are faster in game, but
Yes.
I get what you're saying.
Well, and he. I mean, I said 100 times last season he ran like a man.
yeah.
But you drafted Travis in the what was it, the early second round?
No,
first
late
round.
first. He
Yeah,
was
late
like 22 or
first.
23.
He's got 4.31 speed.
Yeah.
He catches out of the backfield. He's a bigger back than James Robinson.
Yeah.
I just think that you've drafted him to become the back of the future,
Yeah.
and it's going to be easy because there's no loyalty to James
Well,
Robinson.
I
They don't know him
think
much.
here's the thing. If I'm picking this year and I have those guys and trying to decide where to go, which one. I mean, James Robinson, just because of Etienne being there, I have to move him down a little bit.
Yeah.
Just even if I believed Robinson will win out, I just can't take the same risk on him with Etienne being there. So I can't take him as high as I would want to
Absolutely.
if this guy wasn't there. And that's one piece of it. But and just talking about them in the backfield and what it's going I don't know. I've heard that, like you said, they want to run him close to use him kind of in that gadget guy kind of deal. But it's hard. They bring in, a new quarterback, new coach, running back that played with the quarterback in college. What do they have in common? They're all winners. They want to change the culture.
Right.
There's something there why they went and grabbed him.
Well, and it seems to be a trend because you look at Burrows and Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, Burrows just about during the last press conference basically had an erection
Yeah.
when talking about Chase.
Well, it makes sense. The guys won together. I mean,
and I think it's got to be the same
Yeah.
with Lawrence and
Yeah.
if
Travis.
anything, I could see, my heart tells me that Robinson, will still be who he was.
Well, you want to see that too. You want to see
That's what
some
I'm saying.
sort
Yeah,
of
that's what
loyalty
I want.
rewarded.
But my head says faster back, bigger back, played with the quarterback. They draft him the first round. James Robinson would be the guy. To me, that would be the guy that figures in as a secondary back.
to me, if I'm Jacksonville, I trade Rob
Robinson.
right now. He's never, because on another team, they're going to be like, that was the guy that had 1,200 yards. I think they potentially get some pretty decent picks or some pieces
They probably could,
and just give NTN what you.
And
Which,
for
by the way, they make a hell of a Danish. Sorry.
for the reason that you guys highlighted is the reason why James Robinson is dropping down the board. The argument that I will make is that he knows the offense better.
Yeah.
To come in as an undrafted free agent rookie,
Wait, does he know the offense better? Are they running the same offense?
then Etienne,
That's the
I'd
issue.
imagine they've got to have some sort of base offense still around.
Why?
I mean, that's.
Why would they start over from?
Because Urban Myers
There's a new
has got,
quarterback and a new coach.
and
Yeah,
he's
I
got a
get that,
huge
but,
ego.
I mean,
Urban Myers is not
Yeah,
running.
why would
somebody else's.
nobody's there?
How different is hitting the 3-hole?
All right, so now we're
you know what I
having a
mean?
different conversation, but
Like it's not any different.
It is
So
a
you're
lot
talking
different.
about game planning. You're talking about schemes.
no, I'm talking about you just said the
I mean, when you
the
run
playbook.
when you run traps, it's the same no matter what offense you're in.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so I'm saying, so what you're saying is just he has experience. Yeah. Well, I'm saying, all right, yeah. Well, you said the same.
He
It's a
has
different
experience.
offense.
He has experience in the one position in the NFL.
Yeah, he has the
that
experience.
But it's that position specifically has proven that a rookie can come right in and look good.
Well, I'm not discounting
It's not like
the
a wide
experience.
receiver.
I'm just saying. I was only referring to you saying it's the same offense.
Yeah, we're saying the same shit. I mean, a trap
Not
play is a
really.
trap play, a draw play is a draw play.
I think you're oversimplifying
it's
it,
The,
but,
it's
yeah.
the same.
Well, I think
It's
what
not
we're
the
all
same.
saying, though, is we're all concerned.
Explain how it's different.
A trap play is a trap play, but the scheme that it's ran in is way different. The terminology is different. The way they block a trap play is different.
No,
if it's a
the
zone
game
running scheme.
planning's different.
No, so you're saying that every coach in the league, the game plan is different, not the playbook.
They're going to have different names for the plays. Those plays are still going to be blocked the same. They might be called something different.
It's not true.
So you're going to have 6, 7, 8 different traps, right? And they're all going to be blocked differently.
Do you know they're running trap plays though? That's what I'm saying. If
is
there's
just
a zone,
that's a point of just it's
not.
It's the same play with the same blocking
Not true.
under a different name.
Okay.
But anyway,
Yeah, if
so
they both run a trap play, yeah.
So
Okay.
all right, so I'll appease you. He's got more experience, right, against NFL caliber players.
I'm just
now
saying-
you can make the comment that Etienne come from the SEC, and the SEC puts out NFL caliber players all the time. But I just feel that I think Robinson had a really good rookie season after being undrafted.
Yep.
And I think that if you can get him 5th round and later, which is what he's falling, he's going to be your running back 3, right? So he's either going to be your flex, or in leagues where you have to
Larger
start
leagues,
3
yeah.
running backs. He's not a bad RB3 option.
No, and I agree with you,
He's not
especially
gonna
what
be
you're
a
saying.
non-factor.
If you're able to get him round 3, end of round 3, start of round 4, he's a steal probably because.
Well, even I think a little bit later, even.
Oh, so you think you've been seeing him go later?
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, I got him in the middle of the 5th.
Okay, so then that makes total
So
sense.
he's going after Jacobs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which is weird because I actually think those 2 backs, I'd pick Robinson every time over Jacobs.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So it's weird, but yeah. So and it could be, Travis could get hurt. Urban could be being honest. I highly doubt it, but he could be being honest and saying that he's going to be more of a receiver and not more of a running back.
I don't see that either.
I don't see it either. He's just, I mean, he does have, honestly, 6'1", 219. He is kind of a receiver size,
Yeah.
So maybe they saw something they liked and said his future is as a receiver and a gadget.
Do we know anybody that's really been successful in that kind of?
Le'Veon Bell?
Well, Le'Veon Bell was never a wide receiver.
Well, I'm saying they used him as a wide receiver. He
I'm
had
talking
86
about like
catches one year.
An actual, well, yeah, I mean, a lot of your catching backs do, but actually running like wide receiver routes.
Oh, he used to do
not
that.
in
I'm
the
saying he's
pros.
the closest thing.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Like I know there's been some projects like San Fran's got one still, and Jalen Hurd. He's been injured a bunch, but my God,
Percy Harvin was kind of that. I mean, he was more of a receiver though.
yeah, that's what I'm
Le'Veon
saying.
Bell's
So,
probably the only one. Yeah.
I mean, once you get to the NFL, we're talking. I mean, that's elite caliber players. It's kind of hard to really just take everything that you've learned for 4 years in college and like quick switch it up to a completely new position. All right, so let's switch gears here a little bit, so that we don't have to.
Yes, we don't get to argue about
So we don't have
running
to.
back styles and
Yeah.
stuff.
that was like
We're-
5 minutes ago, guys.
Yeah, but
We're arguing
he's still
traps
angry.
and draws.
He's
and all
still
that kind of
angry.
stuff.
So
Yeah,
he's-
no,
he's-
All right, so let's talk
Usually
wide
you
receiver.
are when you're wrong, but
Let's talk wide receiver
keep my
now.
mouth shut.
Here's a wide receiver that I've watched steadily climb up the ADP charts, and that is CD Lamb. Now, I've heard, and again, there's nothing substantial that I've researched or inside contact, anything like that, but there is chatter in the fantasy football world that Amari Cooper, aside from being a little inconsistent, is dealing with some foot issues. So they're thinking that CeeDee Lamb, with Dak being back, may now be the most dynamic wide receiver in that offense. And he's super explosive, right?
I think he was already, yeah.
I mean, absolutely, he could be the wide receiver 1. I think Cooper was probably a little bit more comfortable in that offense because it was the same coach, the same quarterback. They called the plays the same. The scheme was the same.
Yeah, and I think Cooper
They didn't bring in Urban Meyer and then call a trap play something different.
Sounds like you want to argue.
I think CD is an amazing receiver.
Yeah.
But I think Amari is too, when healthy. If he's injured, you're right. It could be a totally different, story.
And with Dak back too. I mean,
Dak.
that offense it's primed to explode, right?
Well,
so even if you have
specifically
Gallup,
because
the wide receiver 3 is good on that team even.
yeah, and you got Blake Jarwin coming off injury, who
Zeke.
everybody was super high on the previous year. I think the Dallas offense, it doesn't matter who you have. I think they have a chance of becoming, being something pretty special. So I have no issue with CD Lamb.
So I'm going to make the point: if you want them, you got to go out and get them early. Because, like I said, I started off round 7, round 8, moved up to round 5. He's being taken currently in the 3rd round.
Okay, so if
now
you
in some
got
drafts.
you 3, you got to pick. You can take any. You can take either of them. Who do you take first?
In the 3rd round, where he's going?
Yeah. No, I think he's talking about the Dallas wide receivers. Who you taking
who
first
would I
off the
take
board?
first?
You taking? Is it Cooper or are you taking?
If I have both of them on the board and I got to take
Right.
one, I would still take Cooper.
Yeah, I'm on the fence. I do a lot of drafts, so I've been diversifying. When I can get them, half those teams I take Cooper, the other half I take CD, just because complete diversification.
Yeah.
If we're talking explosive, who's got the potential?
Yeah.
CD, I think.
Oh yeah, I think he has
I mean,
a higher ceiling, especially physically.
Yeah.
Shit, his workout videos are ridiculous.
he's taller. He's a little bit quicker because Cooper's fast, but not a speedster.
Yeah.
Lamb is a little quicker, a little bit faster, a little bit younger. I would probably lean toward, especially if it's a dynasty.
Dynasty, changes
Dynasty,
everything.
different
Yeah, you
story,
take
yeah.
Lamb.
Yeah,
all
definitely
day.
taking Lamb.
I almost feel like we need a show dedicated to just like a second one of these, but just Dynasty because it's crazy.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going off of like redraft ADP.
Yeah.
We should have probably prefaced that too. Now,
Okay.
halfway through the show,
So it sounds like we are all pretty much in agreement on CD Lamb. We all like him, like
Yeah.
his potential.
Yeah.
Okay. So who do we got next?
all right. So let's talk about
And that was one that he sprung on us because he didn't. He was trying
He's
to
got
hold
like
stuff back.
four more.
He was holding stuff back.
that was one of them. All right. So let's talk about. Essentially, we're going to talk about 2 wide receivers here, but we won't get too in depth with them because we've highlighted them in the past. But with Julio signing in Tennessee, I've watched AJ's stock drop a little bit, not drastically, but a little bit. Where AJ may have been 5th wide receiver, 6th wide receiver taken off the board. Now there's a couple other guys that are being thrown in that mix. Right around the same time that you see AJ come off the board, or was coming off the board, he was coming around Jefferson, Ridley, guys of that nature. Now he's coming off the board more around like the Allen Robinson, Mike Evans section of the draft, and I think that has a lot to do with the addition of Julio. And how could it not? I mean, Julio is going to demand targets, and he's going to demand more than whoever's role he was filling there because it's Julio.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about, my issue too is Julio's going to get a lot of targets. There's just no way around it.
Yeah.
Brown has always been a special receiver because he produces touchdowns. Last year he had 11 touchdowns. And I don't know that that's going to change because even in, peak Julio, he's just not a touchdown guy.
And that's a great point.
Yeah. So
and you can't change size either. AJ's a high pointer. AJ's physical.
Right.
I think AJ still gets those targets
yeah.
for sure.
and may actually have more opportunities because the offense in general is going to be better.
Yeah.
So, he might have fewer receptions but have more touchdowns. It may even out.
Do you have your sheet? I mean, how many? I know I got Corey Davis's stats here, but how many receptions walked out the door with Davis, their tight end that I'm blanking on right now,
Well,
and their third Humphreys as well?
what was it?
Jonnu Smith. They lost
we
Jonnu
highlighted
Smith.
Corey Davis. Corey Davis
Corey
had,
Davis had
90,
65 receptions.
on
Yeah.
like 94 targets
94
or something,
targets.
right?
Yeah.
And I believe that Jonnu had, and I'm going off memory, he had over 80 targets last year.
I think to me, see, this is what's crazy about when we talk about the stuff because I see the board going like that. To me, I'm more enthused about AJ Brown going into the year because of Julio being there.
Yep.
I mean, Which is
another-
with Davis there. Yeah. I think, obviously Jones is going to get more targets. I don't think it impacts his TD output, like you said. But he's not going to be getting doubled anymore.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
He's not going to be getting doubled.
Well, honestly,
he's a man.
Honestly, he's, again, like if you're picking for Dynasty, I'm probably picking A.J. Brown
Absolutely.
over Julio.
I'm probably picking A.J. Brown on the redraft over Julio.
Okay. So
personally.
so I think we're saying
We're not even factoring in
which people still are.
Julio's injury history.
I'm just saying that
Yes,
these are just some trends that are noted, with big name players.
Yeah.
And what you mentioned is the fantasy conundrum, right? Bringing in a better player to take stress off of your elite player.
Yeah.
Does it make them? Are they going to score more points? They're going to score less points, and you kind of have to,
pick your side and roll.
You do, and that's how you end up filling out your own personal ADP cheat sheet.
I always look at the player themselves. AJ's excited to have Julio. I think
Absolutely.
AJ knows ain't nobody going to be double. I will not be double teamed.
And not only that, AJ's explosive, so that's a whole other dynamic too.
Yeah.
A player that's explosive, that's now like, holy shit, I don't have to fight 2 and 3 guys every time I have to go up for. I don't have to. I'm not contested every time.
Yeah.
So
I'm on your side. I think to me, it would say
he's more valuable to me. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
make him a little bit more valuable. But like I said, he's dropped down a little
So
bit.
that's exciting
AJ
if you believe that, because
yeah.
now you could get him.
Well, that's it. I mean,
a
AJ
better
becomes
value.
even a better value because
Right.
he might drop down a round, and he could still produce. So let's talk about the other half of that trade. I think that's where you were going. What does this do for Atlanta receivers, and specifically
Russell Gage.
Russell Gage. So, I mean, immediately you would have to imagine that Russell Gage now goes from wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 2 in that route tree. So, as stats would dictate, you would imagine that Gage's production goes up, right? Because even with, and we pointed this out before the show, even with Julio in that lineup, Gage was still getting the same production. But that's because Gage is still running the same routes even when Julio isn't in the game necessarily, right? They're not going to change his whole scheme because Julio's out. Now being counted on to be the man in that position, you have not only his targets that he was normally getting, but now he's also going to share some of those targets that are departed from Julio. So I think that even though his production was consistent, to me that screams consistency, and that's fantastic. If he was performing as well with Julio in his Julio out, now with Julio out of the picture, a lot of those targets that Julio was getting are now also going to go to Russell. So I think it's going to compound his allure in putting up some decent fantasy numbers.
Yeah, well, and in particular, the injuries that Julio had, because the reason they didn't alter the game plan in favor of Russell is because we thought Julio was coming back every week.
Every week,
and then he didn't, or he'd come in for 2 plays and then be out. So they were still drawing up a game plan for Julio and then trying to adjust mid-game for Russell. The thing I don't like about Russell is he is smaller, 183. He's a very small receiver, 6 foot. And I think Kyle Pitts is an upgrade, a dramatic upgrade over who they had last year at tight end, who's still there, by the way.
Yeah.
So I just want to see that dynamic. But I think to your point, a lot of people are betting on Russell is going to be a lot more heavily involved. And so you're going to pay higher than maybe we should for him.
So, I mean, to start the season, going undrafted, right? Julio's still there. You start to hear chatter of Julio. All of a sudden, Russell Gage is now going at the end of drafts. I'm currently selecting Russell Gage around like my wide receiver 5 mark, and that's only because I'm usually able to get 3 dependable studs, a 4th wide receiver that's a fringe stud. He's my flex 2 in my multiple flex plays, and then I get Gage there for the allure of, all right, well, what can he do with Julio's shares? He is a smaller, more dynamic player. I think there's a lot of upside there, especially in best ball leagues. I think there's going to be some games in best ball leagues where he just absolutely goes off the rails.
The only and we talked, like you said, we talked about it before the show, and it was a good point you made about him slotting into that wide receiver 2 route tree and
having the full off-season practice.
Those are all good things. I think what I was saying is the same. there's still questions for me about can he produce on the outside consistently with his size. You mentioned he's about 6 foot.
Well, it's not even the 6 foot; it's the weight. I mean, the weight is what scares me.
He's close to a guy we talked about, Devontae Smith, to some of us. You know, I mean, and I'd say we're worried about Devontae Smith at that size, and I'd say Devontae Smith's probably more talented than Russell Gage.
I would agree.
I
He's
have
faster,
questions
for sure.
about that.
Yeah.
So that's why, but as a fifth receiver, yeah, that's good value. If he's going there, I would consider him for sure. But if he continues to rise up the boards, that hype train that you were talking about,
Cue the hype
that
train.
means press the button. The hype train you're talking about, if that continues to listen, I'm not taking him as my third wide out.
No, absolutely
Based
not.
on, and I could see it going there.
Well, that's my fear. My
Especially,
fear is that
leading up to when those drafts are really starting to get going in August, and you see him make a few plays in preseason, and then the guy, shoots through the roof. And Kyle Pitts is there.
So who's the comparable? Because like what I see it is, you're probably like, it's probably a Jarvis Landry or Russell Gage.
I'll make a great comparison.
Okay.
For you, right? And it's not current, but
It's a-
as a Giants fan,
Yeah.
Victor Cruz, when all those guys were there, Hakeem Nicks, Mario Manningham, he was the slot. He was probably the best slot in the league. If not, he was one or two, right?
Yeah, he went to hell when he started those Campbell's commercials, but other than that, he's pretty good.
So, and then he gets the contract. They get rid of Nicks. They draft these other guys, and he slots in as a number 2. And he was still good. He just was never the same guy on the inside as he was the outside.
better, better
Same
as a
type of
slot.
stature, weight, explosive guy, but it just didn't line up the same when he went on the outside. So
Yeah. Well, and there's another great, and this is going way, way, way back in the way back machine, but Alvin Harper when he was
Alvin Harper.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I mean, think about that. But when he was against, he was an amazing receiver.
A wide receiver, too.
When Irvin was there,
Yeah.
and then Tampa drastically overpaid for him, and he was a bust.
And you're playing a different type of, in the slot. And nowadays it's a little different because you're getting a speedy, talented guy at slot corner, right? But he's still probably the third best corner on most teams. Some teams he might be the second best.
Yeah.
But he's probably not as physical. And now he's going to have to deal with probably a more physical corner on the outside.
Well, and this is my argument that I would make. If I'm Atlanta, okay? If I'm Atlanta, I leave Hayden Hurst, right? That's their tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's tight end. I leave Russell where he was last year as a slot,
Run
and I
Pitts
put
as a
Pitts,
wide out.
who's faster and taller and has proven he can run wide receiver outs.
I get that, but you lose your value when you take him out of that tight end. What makes him so dynamic is that he plays like a wide receiver in
From
the
that
tight
position,
end.
yeah.
Well,
It's kind of like the thing we've been talking about with Evan Ingram for years.
that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's not as special on the outside as he is on the
Yeah,
inside.
but if I'm if I'm Kyle Pitts, I want to be made a receiver.
And I mean, here's
get
Longevity,
paid, yeah.
paid more, yeah.
and a comparison that I have for Pitts is look at Darren Waller, right? Baltimore tried that with Darren Waller. They tried, hey, let's run him in the wide receiver route tree. Shit, right?
Yeah.
Goes to the Raiders. They use him where he should be used as a tight end, and the dude has had 2 seriously productive years.
Yeah.
So you lose that value, I think, when you take a guy that's that dynamic and take him out of his comfort zone.
I agree.
Because now your matchups that went from super uneven now are a little bit more even.
Although I don't know many cornerbacks in the NFL that match up with a 6'4", 240-pound receiver that runs a 4.3.
That's fair.
I mean, I think Pitts is not Waller. He is better than. I mean, on paper, he's maybe the best tight end. Fastest.
To have never played the game.
That's right. Yeah, he's all hype. We could play the hype train, but I don't think we've ever seen, because Kelsey isn't a blazer speed. He's big, great hands, great route runner.
Well, he understands. He
understands tight
He
end.
understands coverages.
If you threw him as a
all that
wide
stuff.
receiver, he would be marginal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Pitts is the only one that I can think of. I'm trying to think of another one who actually has the attributes of a pure wide receiver, because you normally have big, slow, good hands.
Yeah.
He could be, the new
That
style.
doesn't mean that he could run that route tree either.
That's right.
And we're getting deep in the weeds here.
Yes.
We should probably move on. We'll save this for Kyle Pitts deep dive.
You know what? Let's do a Kyle Pitts only because I do have a little bit of a romance with him.
we can. I know. I can tell.
We can tell.
Okay, so who's next for you?
All right. So to save us some time here, let's lump a couple of people in. These are a couple that I didn't mention to you guys, but I'll bring them up now.
Bad guy.
And these are two guys that are rising up the board, not at the same time, but for different reasons. That's Myles Gaskin and Damian Harris. Yeah. So two guys in the AFC East. Gaskin, right? There was so much question before the season, right? Oh, Miami's going to go out. They're going to go out and get Najee Harris. They're going to go out. They're going to get Travis Etienne. They're going to bring somebody in from outside the network to take over because Gaskin was just a plug and play.
Yeah.
Well, here we are. It's July. Season starts in 2 months, and Myles Gaskin is the guy, right?
Yeah.
So now he's in an offense that could potentially move the ball pretty well. You have Tua, who is mobile. You have some dynamic wide receivers there. You had Devontae Parker. They bring in Will Fuller, who's a blazer, if he can stop blazing. They draft Jalen Waddle. This offense should, on paper, move the ball.
Yeah.
Right? So now Gaskin is your guy, and it's also an offense that utilizes the running back out of the backfield. Gaskin has proved that he's a good receiver. Right now, you're starting to see him, because, again, these drafts this year are so running back heavy. 4th round, you're seeing Gaskin move up to now. So you saw Gaskin,
I like Gaskin
way down in 9, 10, 8. His ceiling has definitely moved up. He's being taken in the 4th round in these bigger leagues.
And I think before normal people, when normal people draft, which is Mark's not normal. I think we've proven that.
Yeah.
I think by that point he could be even higher.
Oh yeah.
And I think that is where I get off the hype train for Myles Gaskin.
Yes.
It's at you're saying 4th round, 5th round. Oh, I get it.
I'm all over him.
Yeah.
2nd, I don't know.
Do you think in novice leagues you think he'd go that high?
No. I'm saying I think the opposite. I think
I think the deeper
in our league, that's like a mix.
The nerdier the league, the more
he's a guy that I'm already. So we're giving away our secrets here. Yeah. But he's a guy I'm already targeting that I hope I could get cheap because we're doing dynasty.
That's right.
And that's why I kind of try to build my team on those guys like that.
Yeah, high value, but you're getting them. Because my thing is Gaskins doesn't have prototypical size. No, he's a very light running back, 200 pounds. He's slow, 4.58. Yeah. He's not a speedster, but he does excel. Like he's one of those that you said on the field is quicker than what he looks.
And a lot of stuff like we were talking about Kelsey. Guys are just good football players.
He understands how to hit the hole.
Yeah, they know
get the yardage.
Division. Yeah. I mean, there's stuff that you can't account for. That's why so many guys that are world-class athletes are bust because they have all the measurables, but they can't hit the hole right. Yeah. They can't read their offensive linemen, et cetera.
And I mean, let's not discredit. You hit the hole even with 4.58 speed. If you're on that second level, who's tracking you down? DK Metcalf from behind. I mean, it's sustainable speed.
That's right.
When you get to that level where unless you have 60 yards of field to cover.
Yeah.
You're
4.4 helps.
And he's got and he's got great hands. My issue with him is I just think he's not an every down back at 200 pounds.
And I
just
agree.
Be
I don't
injured.
think he is.
That's true.
That's my fear. It's always like we talked about Trico on last episode. I love Tariq.
Well, he also thought he was the same size as Saquon Barkley.
Yeah. And
so I think he was
turned out he's the same size.
No,
as Phil.
I think, But I think you were just thinking. I don't think that if he knew that, I think he was thinking that.
Yeah.
So maybe he was just thinking Saquon.
That's my whole thing. Is like I love Tariq. But Tariq is a Metcalf kind of guy, like the old Metcalf running back. He's gadget because he's just not big enough to be in there all the time.
Good old Eric Metcalf.
That's right. When he's in there, man, he can make something happen.
Yeah.
But you better hope he does.
Darren Sproles.
Exactly. He might get 4 or 5 rushes and maybe 3 or 4 receptions.
Dave Meggett.
Dave Meggett, yeah, good one. Yeah.
And he's a little stocky guy too,
Man,
they just can't take the punishment.
We could just have a way back machine.
We could have like a Legends podcast episode.
We should do a Legends draft.
I thought about that.
Draft. That'd be pretty cool.
But we'd have to take a vow to not look up stats.
Oh yeah,
I thought about that. Like
that would be fun to do. Yeah,
you draft a player and you say, all right, I have him his best season, and then we look into the stats afterwards,
and then decide who had the best team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we're gonna do that. All right, so
that'd be
who's next?
All right, and so the other one there that we lumped together was Damian Harris. I think Harris is starting to be a little overvalued. He's now going in somewhere around the 7th round in some drafts. I mean, I get it. I get that he's New England's guy, but I mean, they have Sony Michel there. They just brought in Ramondre Stevenson. They still have James White. I don't get it. I don't get why.
Well, they don't let him run touchdowns.
Well, here's what I don't understand.
That's the frustrating thing about him.
The pool you're talking about picking in, these are like hardened fantasy guys.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like common knowledge. New England, you don't draft running backs from New England, especially high. The only guy I've taken consistently on my roster the last 4 or 5 years was James White because of the reception upside. Yeah. Anybody else on that roster is a waiver wire pickup to me because guess what? I can almost guarantee you there's going to be a running back this year on that roster that you're going to be able to pick up on the waiver wire that you can plug and play.
How many times does it happen? Deion Lewis, Rex Burkhead.
There's no way I'm burning a pick that high.
No.
Hell no.
But it goes to show, and that's what this episode is dedicated to. It goes to show you the premium right now on running backs too. I mean, that's how bad it's gotten. Is that
you have to take some chances. And Damian Harris, the negative about him is that he doesn't score as much because they take him out and put in somebody else. But the positive is he's their first and second down back.
For now.
Yeah, for now. And
but
Sony Michel's another guy who doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy.
Belichick will plug in. Here's the thing. You get Damian Harris, they have a week 4 matchup with somebody, and Belichick thinks Burkhead fits that matchup better. There goes your starting running back.
I mean, exactly. A guy benched,
it's just I'd rather not have the stress, and I'm confident enough. I'll go get my star running backs, and maybe get a guy like Gaskins in the 5th round or 6th round, right? Something like that if I'm lucky. And then I'll play the waiver wire for the year because running back on the waiver wire, I mean, wide receiver is caught up, but running back on the waiver wire year to year, you're going to win your league. You're going to get to the playoffs playing the waiver wire, especially for running backs. I mean, if we went back and just backtracked how many running backs helped guys get into just
you don't even have to back. You go to last year.
It's crazy.
James Robinson.
So, like, to reach on a guy like Damian Harris on any other team, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing about him, too, is
they have 4 backs you can name right now that you could say they're going to get carries.
Well, and Damian, his floor and his ceiling are this close.
Yeah.
Whereas Gaskins, he might have a game where he's running back 1.
Yeah.
Now, he might have some stinkers, but he's got potential in that offense to actually
And you know he's going to be the guy, though, right now.
Yeah.
Harris, I can't say that.
You're not game planning for you're not going into the week saying Damian Harris is we're going to focus on Damian Harris.
Oh, because you get that James White game with 2 reception TDs, 65 yards, 8 carries, something, and then you're shot in the foot because you wasted a.
You know how many times that son of a bitch James White has always been so frustrating for me.
I always have him
because I have him a lot, and then I'll play against him too. And when I have him and I need him, he puts up shit games. And then when I'm going up against him, 11 catches for 133 yards and 2 touchdowns.
You got to know what buttons to push as a coach. You know.
Hey, I won a league on, if you guys remember, LeGarrette Blount that year.
Oh yeah, that
14
year
touchdowns. I won a league because of those 14 touchdowns.
Yeah, running back is so volatile to me. It's like there's a handful of guys that you could count on, and after that, I'm not wasting anything of value on them.
Okay, so this episode's running long here because we're already at the probably 40.
We're at 49 seconds, 49 minutes.
Oh, that's nothing.
I wish it was 49 seconds.
So, do we have anybody else we want to wrap up the episode with?
Well, no, we have a couple more. We're not done yet.
Yeah,
we're not done yet.
Well, pick out the most important ones.
All right. Well, there's only 4 left to talk about, so it's quick.
Look at that.
Not that quick.
Mark, nothing with you is quick except for sex.
Well,
just to say that right now.
All right. So we don't have to get in depth because we've talked about him before. DJ Moore. I just want to let you know.
That was
I'm an adult virgin.
So DJ Moore is he's starting to climb up. He's starting to climb up draft boards.
Yeah.
He was down around 7, 8, 7th, 8th round. He's starting to climb as high as 4th round now. A lot of people are realizing that DJ Moore is probably the best passing option aside from Christian McCaffrey in that offense. Sam Darnold is probably going to pass the ball a little bit more, I would think, than Teddy Bridgewater did. So DJ Moore, I think for that reason, is starting to climb a little bit.
Yeah.
I disagree with it.
Let me tell you what,
because you're a
though.
huge Robbie Anderson
Well,
fan.
no, I think there's Robbie
It's proof
Anderson.
in the pudding.
And I also think that they're betting a lot on Sam Darnold, who has 3 more touchdowns than interceptions.
It's not, yeah, but
And-
I watched him play. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
But in college, that was his issue, was interceptions.
Yeah, but he threw a lot more touchdowns.
I think he's a white Jameis. I'm just going to say that right now, man. He's a guy that
No,
can,
we
No,
already
we
have
already
White-
have White Jameis.
We already have White Jameis. You can't do that, buddy.
I think we have
until
two.
he retires.
I think we have 2 white
the
Jameses.
mantle. No, the
I think we have
mantle
2.
stays with Fitzpatrick.
I could see Darnold throwing 30
No,
and
no.
30.
No,
I'm
listen,
just saying.
I'll say this: Sam Darnold the last 2 years has been one of the worst situations in football. I don't think he throws more interceptions than he did the last couple of years. But
41 touchdowns, 38 interceptions.
listen, you know who their best receiver was the last few years? Jamison Crowder. Okay,
Yeah, he's not bad.
Crowder's no
He's-
slouch, though.
he's not, but he's not. He shouldn't be your best receiver out of the slot. Okay, the best receiver he's played with, Robbie Anderson, when he had a good year, they let walk out the door because they didn't want to give him an extra $1 million.
Well, now he's reunited.
I think they're going to be. I think Robbie Anderson's the number
shouldn't
one
have
guy.
said
there.
reunited.
Good. So anyway,
Should not have said
this is
reunited.
so we already 5 minutes into a quick conversation about the first
That's
one.
because of you two. You two
Well,
go
what do
on,
you-
man. I was gonna end it.
So
you
wait,
didn't
this
even,
is what
just- it's
you
just
didn't even
what Mark wants.
You didn't even have to
He
talk.
wants us to not talk.
Yeah. You know what
Yeah,
Mark is?
he's thinking about the 4 players.
Can
I'm
I
gonna
get a
talk 2
golf
minutes,
clap after
2
every
minutes,
time that I speak?
2
That's what
minutes.
you guys should be doing.
Mark
It's
is
me talking.
Kobe Bryant. He wants to pass the ball into himself for the game-winning point. That's
Me talking, you guys golf clapping.
speak ill of the
It's like
dead.
the
I'm
kid-
speaking ill of the dead here
Let's
because
do
of
that.
you.
And he's been practicing the last week.
Look what you made me do, you son of a bitch.
This is your fault. I like Kobe.
All right, next guy. Yeah, DJ Moore.
All right. Let's talk about the fall of Aaron Rodgers. And quickly, only because of what's going on, quickly. So just golf clap this one.
Can I just say something I hate about this real quick? Not you, all right? Not for you. I seen a question the other day on ESPN. Is Aaron Rodgers still elite?
Yeah, it's just so stupid.
He just won the MVP.
I know. It's
What the fuck are we talking
I
about?
don't get it.
Anybody who looks at that guy and says he's not the best physical quarterback
He's
in
the
the league,
best quarterback in the league
They're
right
an
now.
idiot.
He's had just, I'm telling you, he should have Brady's rings.
Yeah.
He's just been in a shitty situation where they never want to get him any help on offense. And it's a crying shame.
Didn't they draft a receiver with his name?
Yeah.
I think
I
that's.
guarantee it was out of spite.
Oh no, I think it was to. I literally think they said, "Oh no, we'll still have Aaron Rodgers will still be on our team."
He's had decent
Well, no,
receivers.
it's Amari Rodgers.
He's had decent receivers. He's had. Look at his coach that he won a Super Bowl with. He was basically a laughing stock last year in Dallas.
Yeah,
That's who's been his coach.
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
So,
Yep.
and Brady had Belichick.
So I'm still a firm believer. No matter where Rodgers goes, aside from Kansas City,
He's still
he's
Rodgers.
starting.
If
Yeah.
he goes,
If he goes to Tampa
anywhere
Bay,
he goes, he's
Tom Brady's
probably-
on the bench.
and anywhere he goes, anywhere that they would trade him to,
Instantly
he's
contender.
probably a better situation,
Absolutely.
offensively than what he's in right now.
How about you don't get 8 games in the tundra? How about that?
Yeah, yeah.
Seriously, that's just the start.
Yeah, that win whips like a, I mean, it's ridiculous. And to me, it's an idiotic argument. when
Imagine
people
him in
talk about
Denver whipping the ball through that thin air. Woo.
it. Yeah, to Cortland Sutton,
Especially with those receivers.
Kyle
Fans, yeah,
Hamler.
I'm telling
come
you,
on.
I'm pulling for it.
Jerry Judy, who we're not even
Yeah.
mentioning, but yeah.
Maybe the best route runner in the NFL for the young receivers.
So the point for bringing this up so quickly was that no matter where he goes, he's going to
Yes.
he's
We're
going to
passionate
start.
bunch.
If you can get Aaron Rodgers, get him.
Yeah, because he's
and if he
sliding.
falls, even better.
You know what? You're
Another
no
one.
longer getting him as a quarterback 1. You're actually drafting him as a quarterback 2. That is sinister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The,
This is the hype train for Aaron Rodgers.
probably the best
shouldn't have to be.
overall quarterback in the league, hands down, passer skill wise.
Yeah.
Quarterback 2. Like we shouldn't be having this discussion.
Well, he leaves a little to be desired on the ground.
That's
fair.
why I said skilled passer.
but
He's
he-
definitely
he's
the most.
almost
But I
40,
mean,
though.
for fantasy though, I mean, you could. There's a few guys you could slide ahead of him because of that.
Oh yeah,
alone.
and you're still going to, even if
Yeah.
he's in the Denver situation, you're still
Yeah.
going to draft, Mahomes ahead of him. You're still going to draft Josh Allen ahead of him. But shit, he's now he'll go ahead of Lamar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He'll go ahead of a couple of guys, and that's only because of the situation.
All right, who's next?
All right,
Jordan Love. He's got to talk about Jordan Love now.
He's not even on my radar.
Now Jordan Love is still going undrafted. He's getting
Yeah.
Jordan is getting no love,
He's a
honestly, in
quarterback.
any of these
I mean,
drafts. To the point where everybody is speculating that even if Rodgers leaves,
They're gonna bring somebody in.
Is it really Jordan Love? Because they have like 6 quarterbacks on their roster right now, and they said that he's
Don't they
just
still
not
have
ready.
Brett Hundley, and they still have him.
Oh wow.
Probably, I don't
The
know.
guy doesn't that he has one of those helmets that doesn't fit his head right,
Yeah,
right?
he's
Or
got-
the head that doesn't fit the helmet right.
And then I think they've got the old quarterback that Cleveland drafted the year before.
Cody Kessler.
No.
No.
Cody Kessler was solid, man.
Yeah, no. Kessler was solid.
He's a
No,
nice
it
backup to have.
The Notre Dame quarterback
Oh,
for the Browns.
wow.
He was bad.
Deshaun Kaiser.
Yeah, Deshaun Kaiser. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was bad. I'm pretty sure he's still there.
Good call.
Yeah, still there.
Yeah, I think they probably. I'm sure Brett Favre has probably gotten a couple of off-season calls, to tell you the truth.
Hey, I don't know. He can still play. Give him some Vicodin. Get him in there and
No, they're probably still calling guys like Phillip Rivers though.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I wonder how many teams have rang Andrew Luck's phone number over the last couple of years. Just like, hey, dude, man, really? Come
Yeah,
on.
not.
You sure? Like, you're still only, what is he, 27 still? 28? You sure you don't want to come back? All right. So to wrap this up,
Yeah, let's go.
to put a bow on this, let's talk about 2 tight ends real quick. Both currently on the Philadelphia Eagles.
Okay.
So, rumors been out since the beginning of the offseason that Ertz is no longer going to be an Eagle. So they've been shopping him around. Supposedly, there's a handful of teams that like him, but in the last week, chatter has picked up that Buffalo has been in hot pursuit. It's all over the fantasy football chat rooms. It has been validated by a couple of articles that have been written that are saying, Buffalo is definitely one of the contenders to grab him. Personally, I'd like to see him go to Cincinnati. I think that'd be a fantastic fit, but it seems like Buffalo is in on him. To the extent of where Dawson Knox even said, bring him in, because steel sharpens steel. So Dawson Knox wants to get better, bringing in Zach Ertz. Yeah. Because of this, Ertz's value has started to increase once again a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get what you got with Zach Ertz 4 seasons ago. I mean, you're bringing in a 31-year-old tight end that's going to learn, a new system. But who I am a believer in is who it leaves behind, Dallas Goedert. I mean, that guy is a monster. He's got great hands. He reminds me a lot of
Zach Ertz.
No, he actually
young at Zach Ertz.
faster.
He reminds me of Gronkowski in his prime. I think he can be that reliable big target that Jalen Hurts is going to need while Devontae Smith gets up to game speed, and they hopefully develop one of these 2 moron receivers that they drafted the last 2 years in Rager and Whiteside. Yeah, neither one of them panned out, man. They've both been.
Well,
I think Rager has a chance. Rager was banged up. Yeah.
I do too. I think
We'll see.
I think Rager could be.
We'll see with a new coaching staff. Maybe they get that straightened out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Goddard has moved up the board. So Goddard is now taken somewhere around like round 8. Probably this is just off the top of my head. I'm going to say somewhere in the 8th to 10th tight end taken off the board range. And I think it's warranted. I think you could probably even take a risk and try to get him a little bit higher.
Shit, if I could get him at 8th or 9th tight end taken, I'm pretty happy, because I would definitely slot him a little bit higher than that myself.
Yeah, he's going right around like Noah Fant.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he's better than he's
Logan Thomas, that area.
Yeah,
I like Logan Thomas a lot too.
I like Logan as well.
yeah. I like Logan, and I think he's a fast riser. I do think people are going to overpay for him, but that's another episode. So
Yeah.
Well, that's all.
right.
That's all I have for you.
that's you sure?
Good.
You don't
Look at
wanna-
that, and it was at least 2 hours shorter than you guys thought it was going to be. So there's that.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't know that. I think it was exactly as long as I thought it would be.
You've never heard that in your life, have you?
It was definitely painful.
No, because usually it's under promise, over deliver, baby.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but anyways, Phil, tell people how to see us.
Hey guys, thanks for coming. And boy, I can't wait for football to start. But
Yeah.
thank you for being here. You find us on Instagram, YouTube. Please like and subscribe to Ultimate Fantasy Locker Room. We are also on TikTok. We have some pretty fire lit TikToks.
Yeah.
Check those out. Rocky's dancing a little bit. It's good stuff. Like I said, like and subscribe. Please comment on the videos if you can. We appreciate you being here, and
Yeah,
See you next week.
Couldn't
man.
get through an episode without
No, I
it.
couldn't.
There it was.
But
The
yeah,
crack.
I was. Yeah,
We
What?
appreciate.
I was so
no.
close.
Listen, we appreciate every week we gain subscribers, and we appreciate that a whole lot.
we sure do.
So, anyways, thanks guys for listening and watching.
Later.